what you do?
Okay, I'm a professor and dean of the School of Public Policy and Management at Tsinghua University. Our school is a graduate school. We train public servants and NGO managers and many other people who are interested in public affairs. So we encourage people to devote their lives and their career to public affairs and to promote better lives for the people. And we have many different programs. Two of them I wanted to mention here. One of them is a master's degree in international development, and which is taught in English, and we actually encourage everyone who are interested in those issues, in international development issues, to come to our school. Another program we have is a international MPA program that's mainly providing training for mid-career government officials from developing countries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you know that Vivienne is very famous among the teenagers in China? She told me yesterday that when she was in China,
yes,
they were just running after you, screaming, "Vivienne, Vivienne," which is
yes,
wonderful. Did you know this?
Well, yes, indeed. Actually, Vivienne told me that, yes, I think last night, and I was hoping that I was going to ask, whether there's some message that she can bring to the young people in China.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Please have a seat.
Thank you.
And now I know, Vivienne, that you have many questions to Lan, and please fire away.
Okay. Well, I hope I don't take too long. And I did meet Mr. Xue yesterday, and he said he might want to ask me some things as well.
Yes, I do have a
so
with that.
Please interrupt and ask me if I take too long. But
sure.
I would like to ask you probably two things. One is China is famous for being able to implement top-down policy. No other country in the world could have managed, whatever everyone thinks of it, to have made it the rule that each family must only have one child. And I wonder, regarding the financial situation, one thing, and the other thing I wonder is, so the second thing I want to ask you is, what policies does China have which are top-down at the moment with regard to climate change?
Yes.
And the other thing I want to ask you is about finance. And the way I see it is that the world is already bankrupt, that assets are debt, that growth means more debt, and that economics is not a science, it's an agreement. And at the moment, everybody's agreed to keep pretending that this debt has a value. And the thing that I would do if I were the governor of China and had this capability, I would say all banks must be run for a service. They are not allowed to make a profit or hardly any profit. And that could, if that would be done, it would change so much what we do in this world, and it would stop an awful lot of what we do for harm in this world and maybe divert it into doing things for good. Because for sure, I do think that there's going to be a financial crash, and I would prefer to have a soft landing, and I would think this is the first thing to do. So I'd like to know if you've got any comments about that at all, and the other thing.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think regarding to your first question, I think that what Chinese government has done in terms of top-down policies with regard to climate change, China has done quite a few things. The first thing that China has done is that about 5 years ago, every 5 years, China makes a so-called 5-year plan for the economic and social development. Mm-hmm. And in that plan, I think China made a commitment, and actually that was enforced, is to cut the emission level and cut the energy consumption level by 20% per capita, and the energy consumption per capita of GDP, to cut that by 20% over the 5-year period. And so that actually almost achieved. So it's, I think by last year's account, it's about 19%. So it's just a bit short of it, but it's mostly done. So I think that's a top-down policy that has implemented, and I think has achieved great results. And also, there are, as you know, China has entered WTO. China has been transformed over the last 30 years into a market economy. And so many of the things that the government really have to rely on the market to make the policy work. And so one of the things that China has been doing is to invest in R&D, in alternative energies. So over the last few years, 4 or 5 years, China has invested probably about 10 billion Chinese RMB to do research on implementation of alternative energies. So now China is the largest the country in terms of implementation of wind technology, solar energy, and hydro power. So those are some of the things that China has been doing.
May I just interrupt briefly?
Yeah.
Yesterday, a Chinese countryman of yours received the Right Livelihood Prize. Are you aware? Huang Min, from Himin Solars. He's the largest producer of solar panels in the world. So he was awarded yesterday the Right Livelihood Prize.
Well, yes, exactly. So there were many of those activities going on, but not at the top level, but at the bottom-up level. Many companies are innovating on new products and implementing that in various scale. On your second question, I think about how to make banks do not earn money. I think that's a bit hard because now China is in the WTO and the companies are, many of the state-owned enterprises, including the major commercial banks, they are now being pushed to the market, and so they are now trying to make money. But I totally agree with you that there's a public need to regulate those banks to make sure they're not doing the wrong things that many banks in other countries have done. Now, turning to my question to you, I was really struck by your opening question of what do you want to say to the young people. And this reminds me of a story that actually I experienced several years ago. You know Les Brown, who's the head of the World Watch Institute, who has been a great sort of promoter of sustainable development. And several years ago, I invited him to give a talk at Tsinghua University on his version 2 of the sustainable Earth. And so he gave a wonderful presentation. And basically he said, one of the messages he said was that actually because of China's rapid economic growth, so many people in China wanted to have a car, wanted to have their own house and so on. But he said, if everyone in China wants to have the life of the people in the U.S., we would need probably 3 or 4 Earths to support it. Yes. I think that's right?
This is a fair calculation.
Fair calculation, exactly. So what happened, and after his presentation, we organized a dialogue between him and the Tsinghua Green Society, the young students. The students organized the Green Society, also, I think, promoting sustainable development. To my surprise, many of the students, the young people, they actually questioned Mr. Brown. They said, look, you have achieved the nice life of having your cars, having your suburban houses, and having all the, enjoyable things. Now, we've worked hard over the last 30 years, and now we've got the money. And now it's time for us to enjoy a better life. But now you're telling us you can't do it because we have only one Earth.
That's a key question.
Yeah, so...
I was struck by the question, and I didn't think that Mr. Brown gave a good answer. So I'm wondering... he was basically saying that indeed... he certainly recognized the issue there, but, he was saying that, of course, the people's lifestyle in the U.S. need to be changed and so on. But I think that's a fundamental question that we have to think about. And so I'm wondering if you are asked the question, what would you say to the young people?
Yes, well, I give you the answer then now, which is, I would first make the comment that everything you have said is really in reference to business as usual. We're not really going to change anything. We're going to work on the green economy at the same time as carrying on, as we always did. Now then, what this means is that either we have to try to do something about this, or we will be... Two things could happen. Either there will be an incredible collapse of finance all quickly and everything, and awful chaos and disaster and death, or it will be forced upon people slowly, that they will realize it's impossible to do that. And whatever they're doing in America, forget it, or in England. You're not going to be able to manage that. You won't have enough people growing food for you. If you hope to get your food from Africa instead of from your own land, this is just an incredible lack of foresight. And China at one time was a sustainable country. It did grow all its own food. When people from the West came as ambassadors to China, the emperor said, "We don't need anything, go away." They didn't need anything. And I think you should make your own country sustainable. That's the first thing. And stop this idea. You see, we in the West have to try to be aspirational as well. We don't want hamburgers. The poor people have hamburgers. We don't want jeans. Jeans pollute more than probably any, spaceships or aeroplanes or anything. We don't want these things. I'm a fashion designer, and you can criticize me on that for seemingly, putting fuel on the engines of consumption. But I would defend that if you ask me, by more or less saying that what we do is quality. And it's not simply quantity, and that's what we aim for. Everybody has to have clothes, and I think it's much better to buy one expensive thing than 10 inexpensive things. Choose well. And I also say to people, buy less. Anyway, but I'm not saying that makes me a holy person in fashion, not at all. But it's the best defence I can offer, unless I want to close my company down, and I don't want to.
Then don't close down your company, because I think actually your company can make great contributions. So it's admirable that you are actually, entering this, in a way, course in promoting sustainable development, because I think your role model has a much bigger impact.
I hope
than
so,
any of our research. We have a much less impact
That's
on the young people.
Very true.
So I think when you are in the course, that role model, that impact will be great.
I want to say one thing, which is when I have been to China twice, I've been very impressed by the journalists, the young people usually, that have interviewed me about fashion. And of course I talk about my major concerns, not about fashion too much.
Okay.
And they are so intelligent and so understanding. And when you get the interviews back, they put down really succinctly everything you say. They don't distort it. They know very well what the issues are. And I find them extremely intelligent, the journalists. I've met corporate people who are the same as corporate people here. They just care about making money. But there are very, very intelligent people in China, of course.
To address the question of innovation, what would you like to say about that in terms of, you've come a long way in China, and just the award yesterday was one good show of that. What would you like to say to the audience here about innovation, and how can we encourage people here working with innovation to have the sustainability in focus, always have sustainability and climate change in mind? How can we have that?
Well, I think that when we talk about innovation, I myself have studied innovation for over the last 2 decades. And previously, we focused too much on the technological innovation. So always thinking about what are the new technologies we can come up with and how they can be implemented. But I think in recent years, we've increasingly seen that that's probably technological innovation is necessary but not enough. So we need actually social innovation. We need institutional innovation to really come along with the technological innovation, to really to promote the sustainable development, to reduce the CO2 emission. And I think, so we need to really bring all those innovations together so that we can actually achieve a better environment in the future.
And then we need to change people's minds.
Exactly. Well, I think that to change people's mindset, I think it's not easy, and not an easy course. And I think of course, in I'm a policy analyst, we always say that we have 3 kind of tools that we can, hope to achieve our policy objective. And of course, we have regulations and laws that's forcing people to change their behavior.
We need different values if we're to have a sustainable world, definitely. This is what you tell your young people. You start to use your intelligence, don't just suck things up.
Yeah.
So actually, well, please finish.
Yeah, I think so that's the first, I think, but that's much difficult to achieve. The cost is very high. The second mechanism usually is a market mechanism that actually you provide incentives for people to change their behavior. That's okay, many people are actually doing that, and many policies are designed to do it. And the third one is change people's mindset. That's exactly change people's value system. And that's actually where we have to fight with, and that's actually fundamental. Unless we change that, I think the course of sustainable development, there's no hope for it. So we really have to change people's mindset.
And this is a perfect introduction to the next speaker, because we know that you really know this field.
Thank you.
Please welcome Olivier Hoyer from the University of Marseille. You're a behavioral economist. Please give him a warm hand. Olivier, please tell us a little bit about your work.